Sir, it's not recording right now, sir. It has been yeah, right now it is.
It's recording, right?
Yes, sir, again it started now.
Oh, okay. So can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So before we look at the origin of elements, I would like to introduce uh, uh, a few points about the distribution of matter that we have in the uh, in the universe. Now, and before that, I would like to introduce the chart of nuclides. So the chart of nuclide is essentially, if you can see, it's a plot of the neutron number, okay, the neutron number n versus the atomic number z. So you can plot either the atomic number on the x-axis and the neutron number on the z, or vice versa. Normally it is done in such a way that you plot the atomic number on the x-axis and the neutron number on the y-axis of any nuclide. And now the chart of nuclide is interesting, but it is because it helps us to visualize. It helps us to visualize the occurrence of the different uh, nuclides that we have making up the different elements. So in such a chart, if you move horizontally, so that means if you move horizontally, uh, so you are moving along nuclides that have a constant value of n, so constant neutron number, so same number of neutrons. So such nuclides which have the same number of neutrons are called isotones. And when you move vertically, okay, when you move vertically, so you are moving along a line where you have a fixed number of fixed atomic number, okay. So you have fixed z but different number of neutrons. So essentially you are looking at uh, nuclides that have the same atomic number but different number of neutrons, and those nuclides are called isotopes. Now the nuclide chart reveals some very interesting or important features of the stability or abundance of matter. For example, if you look at the nuclide chart, what you see is that this region that you have in the nuclide chart, this region shows the neutron and the proton numbers of all the different isotopes or nuclides of different elements. And what you will see is that this has been color coded depending upon how stable the nuclide is. That means whether it's stable or unstable. So depending upon the length, the time period that is required for the nuclide to decay. So you may have very unstable nuclides, which are shown in this almost white, very short half-lives. On the other hand, you may have this black parts here, which are the stable nuclides. So what you see is that all the stable nuclides, so essentially this dark part here, this dark central part of the distribution of nuclides in the chart of nuclides, all this part, this central region is the region occupied by the stable nuclides. And if you move away from the center, so either towards increasing atomic number or towards increasing neutron number, what you see is that you have increasingly more and more unstable nuclei. That means which much and much shorter half-lives. Okay, so stable nuclides, they plot along the central region of this region occupied by the nuclides, and this central region is called the valley of beta stability. Okay, I will explain why this is called the valley of beta stability. Now what you will also notice is that for low atomic number elements, all these stable nuclides, they roughly plot along a trend, okay, with a slope of close to 1. So that means to have a stable nucleus, you need roughly equal number of protons and neutrons. But as you move towards heavier and heavier nuclide, that means higher Z, okay, higher atomic numbers. So what you see is that you require progressively more and more number of neutrons to produce a stable nuclide. Okay, so now, as I said, towards the central region of the distribution of nuclides, you have a region where you have all this region called the valley of beta stability. These are the stable nuclides. These are the nuclides which do not undergo any form of radioactive decay. Now, to the left of this central dark region, you have nuclides which are rich in neutrons compared to the number of protons. Okay, so they have higher, or they are deficient in protons, or they have higher neutron relative to protons. So these are the nuclides. They undergo what is referred to as beta minus decay. I will talk about these decays a little later on. And to the right of this value of beta stability on this side, so you have nuclides which are essentially proton rich. So they have higher proton relative to number of neutrons. So these nuclides on either side of the value of beta stability, these are the unstable nuclides that undergo radioactive decay. They may be either proton rich or they may be neutron rich, and depending on whether they are proton or neutron rich, they undergo some sort of an isobaric decay. Now if you look at the distribution of nuclides in the nuclide chart, there are some very interesting features. For example, there are some elements that have only one stable isotope. Okay, they have only one stable isotope. And in fact, in the entire periodic table, there are about 20 such elements. There are 20 elements which have only one stable isotope. And the interesting thing is that all these elements, all these 20 elements, they all have odd atomic numbers. Okay, so the generalization is that if an element has only one stable isotope, it will always have an odd atomic number. So these are some of the examples that I've listed here: beryllium 9, fluorine 19, sodium 23, 27 aluminium, 31 phosphorus, 45 scandium, 51 vanadium, 55 manganese, for example. Okay, now they will always have odd atomic number. You can see that. So atomic number 55. So if you look at this, this is just a part of the nuclide chart in the region around, you know, some of the transition elements: vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, etc. So what you see is that, say, if you look at 51, look at 55 manganese, for example. So you look at 55 manganese here, just a single isotope, and its atomic number is 25, so it's odd. You look at another stable, say 51 vanadium, this is almost 100% of vanadium. Again, you see it has an odd atomic number. So if you look at cobalt also has a single isotope, cobalt 59. You see it has an odd atomic number. So all those elements which have just one stable isotope, they always will have odd atomic number. Now, for even atomic number elements, the even numbered isotopes are always more abundant than the odd numbered isotopes. So let's look at an element with a even atomic number. Okay, say let's look at iron. Iron here has an atomic number of 26, so it's an even numbered isotopes. Now if you look at the abundance of the different isotopes of iron, you see that, okay, so in this here the abundances are given in so just below the isotope. So here 54, the abundance is 5.845%. Iron 56, again an even numbered isotopes, abundance is 91.754%. And what you will see is that the odd number isotopes, so iron 57 is an odd numbered isotopes, you see it has a very low abundance. So if your element has an even atomic number, so in most cases the isotopes which have even numbered mass numbers, they will always be more abundant than the isotopes which have odd mass numbers. Now, if you look at odd atomic number elements which have odd atomic numbers, you will see that the even numbered isotopes are usually unstable. For example, if you look at, say, for example, if you look at manganese, see, it's odd atomic number element. Atomic number is 25 here, 25, manganese. If you look at the abundance of the isotopes, you see that it's only one isotope that has odd atomic number 55, odd mass number 55, 100% abundance. None of the even mass number isotopes are stable. Another example you can take, for example, cobalt. Another again. So if odd atomic number, again a single isotope, but that has an odd mass number. You can take another one, say copper, atomic number 29. Again, this is an odd number. What you will see is that only two isotopes are stable, and that too, both of them have odd mass numbers, 63 and 65. Okay, so you have to keep in mind, so for those elements for which you have odd atomic number elements, the even numbered isotopes, that means isotopes with even mass numbers, are unstable. For those elements which have even atomic numbers, it is even numbered even mass numbers, or the isotopes having even mass numbers, they are more abundant than the odd one. Now, what you'll also notice is that nuclides with an even number of neutrons are more common. Okay, so nuclides with odd number of n are either unstable or have low abundances. So if you look vertically in this nuclide chart, you will see that normally if you have even number of neutrons, say for example, say let's look at 32. Okay, so neutron number is 32. What you will see is that those nuclides which have even number of neutrons, they are typically more common. For example, say cobalt 59, the even number of neutrons, 100%. Nickel 60, 26%. In comparison, if you look at say iron, for example. So iron has 4 isotopes: iron 54, iron 56, iron 57, and iron 58. Now, if you look at the abundances of those nuclides which have even number of neutrons and odd number of neutrons, so what you will see is that, say for example, here having a neutron number 30 has an abundance of 91% or 91.75%, whereas iron 57, which has an odd neutron number, has a much lower abundance of just about 2.119%. So this is what I mean when I say that nuclides with even neutron number. Yeah.
But the 32 neutron number 32 has a lower abundance. So you say now even
What?
number of neutron number 32 for iron has a lower abundance. So is there in hard and fast rule that if there is a even number of atomic number, so the isotope is more stable?
Generally yes. Generally, the even neutron number isotopes, of course there are exceptions, generally are more common. I have not written that you only have even numbers. They are more common.
Okay.
Okay, so there are some exceptions and there are reasons for that. Okay, there are exceptions and there are reasons for that. So have you understood so far? Any questions? Now, two stable nuclides, as you all possibly know already, can always have the same mass number. And what are they called? If they have the same mass number?
Isobar.
So they are called isobars. Okay, when two nuclides or two stable nuclides, when they have the same mass number, they are called isobars. So in the nuclide chart, all isobars would essentially lie along lines with slope of -1 like this here. Okay, so you can make different lines like this passing through different nuclides like that. So all these nuclides along any such line with a slope of -1, they will have a constant value of z plus n, which is essentially your mass number, right? So this is essentially these are all your isobars. So all your isobars in the nuclide chart would plot along lines with slope of -1. Now what is interesting is that nuclides, that are the only isotope of an element. That means for those elements which have a single stable nuclide or single stable isotopes, they never have another stable isobar. Very interesting. So for example, if you look at say cobalt 59. So if you look at cobalt here we look at the same part of the nuclide chart. You see cobalt 59. Cobalt 59 is the only isotope of cobalt. Okay, it's an odd mass number isotope. So cobalt 59 is the only isotope of an element, and you will see that there is no other stable isobar. All these other iron 59, manganese 59, chromium 59, vanadium 59, these are the isobars of cobalt 59. So you see they all have very short half-life. They are all unstable. They are all typically unstable. You can go this side also. None of them are stable. The stable isobars, I forgot to mention here, all the stable isobars are shown in this gray boxes. These gray squares are the stable isobars or stable nuclides. So cobalt 59, it's the only isotope of cobalt, and it does not have any stable isobar. So whenever you have an element with just a single isotope, it does not have any other stable isobar. Okay, you can another example you can take is manganese 55. So manganese 55 is the only isotope of manganese. You can see here no other stable isobar. You can move like this. So the isobars would be chromium 55, vanadium 55 on the higher neutron side, and iron 55, cobalt 55, nickel 55 on the lower neutron side. So you see that there is none of these are actually stable. Only manganese 55 is a stable isobars. Now you might be wondering that why you have this kind of distribution of the nuclides. What is the reason for it? Now many of these features of the distribution of nuclides in the nuclide chart, they are essentially a result of the fact that the neutrons and protons, they reside in the nucleus in shells. So just as you might be aware that you have shells where electrons occupy outside the nucleus, different shells, K, L, M, N, and so on. So in a similar way, okay, neutrons and protons also reside in shells in the nucleus. So you have separate shells for protons and separate shells for neutrons. So whenever you have paired protons and neutrons, the reason being that protons and neutrons are fermions. Okay, so fermions are particles which have just half spin, okay, as compared to bosons, for example, which have full spins. So therefore, and you know that when you have these fermions, whenever they are paired, so you have pairs with opposite spins, so that situation is energetically much more favorable. So whenever you have protons and neutrons, because they are fermions, they only carry half the spin. So when you pair them, you essentially make a more stable configuration. So when they are paired in the proton and neutron shells, those are energetically favored configurations. So that is the reason why whenever you have nuclei with even number of protons or even number of neutrons, they usually tend to be more stable, okay, than those with odd numbers of protons and neutrons. For example, if you look at the total number of stable nuclides as a function of nuclear configuration that I show on top here. So if you have even atomic number and even neutron number, so you'll have a nuclide with an even mass number. You have 159 such nuclides, okay, stable nuclides. Okay, we are only referring to stable nuclides here. So clearly, whenever you have even Z and even N, so you have the maximum number of stable nuclei. That is because those nuclides have configurations where you have paired protons and neutrons in the nucleus, in the shells in the nucleus, and therefore they are much more stable. In cases where you have an even Z and odd N, or odd Z and even N, in both these cases you will have a nuclide with odd mass numbers. So they are much less stable compared to the even configuration. So roughly you have sub-equal amounts, so roughly 1 in 53 and 1 in 50, roughly similar proportion of nuclides with even and odd atomic numbers. And what you see is that if you have odd atomic numbers and odd neutron numbers, so you'll have a nuclide with even mass number. Okay, this configuration is the least favored. You only have 4 such stable nuclides, very few. So whenever you have odd atomic number and odd neutron numbers in the nucleus, okay, so those nuclides are generally unstable. So you have very few stable nuclides. So so nuclei, as I said, with even number of protons and neutrons are more stable than those with odd numbers. Okay, I think we have very little time. I will stop here today, so we can continue in the next class. I forgot. So okay, let's quickly have attendance. I will start with the third year people. Mendy Jivan.
Present, sir.
Himanshu Garwal. Himanshu. Rishiraj Vishal. Shubham Jhang.
Yes, sir. Rishiraj.
Rishiraj is there.
Yes, sir.
D. Abhilash.
Yes, sir. Present.
Shubham.
Acha, Shubham is there. Huh? Yeah. Madhuri Venkata Gopichand.
Present, sir.
Okay, so please excuse me if I pronounce your wrong name not incorrectly. It will take some time. Chujay Das.
Sir, Abhilash.
D. Abhilash, done. Sujay Das. Akanksha Gupta.
Yes, sir. Present, sir.
Ayush Mishra.
Present, sir.
Akanksha Agarwal. Amit Karad.
Present, sir.
Ashish Kumar. Ashish Kumar. Gunjika Dhanuka.
Present, sir.
Ishang Gupta.
Present, sir.
Shuru Bhuvan Sai.
Yes, sir. Present, sir.
Manish Das.
Present, sir.
Okay. Mata Venkata Shri Sai Sastrulu.
Yes, sir. Present, sir.
Okay. Munagala Thanmai.
Present, sir.
Is it okay? Munagala Thanmai?
Yes, sir. Karma, it's okay, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Krishna Tushar. Present or not? Yeah. Okay. Paras Chaudhary.
Yes, sir.
Patil Vishal Rajesh.
Present, sir.
Pratik Shah.
Present, sir.
Raksha R.
Present, sir.
Gautam S. Gautam.
Present, sir.
Sagen Hemran.
Yes, sir.
Sandeep Gautam.
Present, sir.
Please be ready, huh? Satvik, don't waste time. Satvik Aman.
Yes, present, sir.
Sharmila Diminti.
Present, sir.
Shivam Patel.
Present, sir. Sir, you didn't call my
Swastik,
name.
just a moment. Swastik
Yes, sir. Present, sir.
Samantre.
Present, sir.
Okay, Shiranjani Dhali. Shri Jani Dhali, sorry.
Present, sir.
Vineet Anand.
Present, sir.
Whom have I missed?
Sir, Pawar Samir Ashok. I actually registered yesterday night.
Huh? Are you there? Roll number.
19GG 20024.
19 GG.
20024.
Name?
Pawar Samir Ashok.
SAM Samir. Anybody else?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is Aniket Agarwal.
Can you, those of you who have registered late, can you just send me an email with your name and roll number?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I think it's better that way. I will add
Yes,
you
sir.
people.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Now we
So-
come to the, yeah.
Sir, one more thing I would like to ask.
Yes.
Is it the slides which you are like showing us? Like, can you send us after
No.
teaching or?
No.
Okay, sir.
You will have the videos, right?
Recording one, sir.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
You will
sir.
have the video recordings, no?
Yes, sir.
So why do you need the slides after that? Slides are my, these are my personal creative content, right?